What moment made you say yep, I'm definitely dead, but survived with no major injuries? Not me, but my mom before I was born. She was riding in a convertible with a friend of hers. They came to an intersection and the friend wasn't paying attention and lost control of the vehicle. There was a big rig going through the intersection and they went right under the trailer. My mom ducked. The driver didn't not. Driver was decapitated. My mom was lucky and only ended up with a scalp full of glass and some serious psychological trauma. She had to get over 200 stitches in her scalp but nothing else significant. I think about it all the time and think how close I came to never being born at all. I've had almost the same dang thing happen. My friend's tiny Corvette was slammed into by a semi who ran a red light. I walked away with a seatbelt rash. My friend was mostly blinded by glass but zero other injuries. I was a senior in high school, and the student club I was in organized an unofficial beach trip towards the end of the year. No teachers or official permission, leaving me and a few other seniors in charge of supervising everything. After a couple hours worth of fun, one of the other students came running up to me and said that 3 of the younger members of the club had been swept out by a riptide and couldn't get back towards the shore. Me and 2 other of the older students, all experienced swimmers, immediately went to go help them. My friends got 2 of the 3 kids in trouble and started guiding them parallel to the shore to get them out of the current. But the guy I went for was panicking, barely staying above the water, and started dragging me. I yelled for people to get a lifeguard and tried to keep both of us afloat. But after a few minutes, maybe 5, maybe 10, it felt like forever. I was getting exhausted, having trouble keeping both of us above the water, and I couldn't see anyone coming to the rescue. I started getting big mouthfuls of water and my leg muscles were starting to cramp up, and I remember thinking holy crap, I might actually die right here, right now, as the current started pulling us further and further away from where everyone was. Thankfully for everyone involved, one of the students on the beach had flagged down a couple of surfers, who made their way out to where we were as quickly as they could and hauled first the younger student and then me onto the front of their boards and took us back to shore. I'll always be thankful and appreciative for those strangers who put themselves in the dangerous position of rescuing 2 drowning swimmers. In those situations I've been told to swim down. The other person doesn't want to go down and might let go. Other than that, I watched a lifeguard punch someone in the face a few times when they were clinging and dragging them both down. I was at the end of a 2-hour journey about 10 minutes from home. Pretty rural, and I was probably complacent because I took that road every day. I took a bend at 40 miles per hour. Legal limit was 60 miles per hour, so wasn't breaking any speeding rules, which I've done many times before. Probably faster, which looking back was really reckless. I didn't see until it was too late that a car had spun out on the other side of the corner and another car had pulled up to help. I slammed on, but I wasn't going to stop in time before hitting the cars pulled up crashed. I was hurtling straight towards the other cars and people who were stood in the road from the other crash. It was like time slowed down and I was at a crossroads. In my mind I had 3 choices. Continue on my path and hit the other cars and people. Veer to the right and go into a field, but there was oncoming traffic and there was a chance I'd hit them, or veer to the left and fly into a wooded area. I chose the last option. And in that moment I knew the chances of me surviving or not being seriously injured after a 40 mile per hour head-on collision to a tree in a 10-year-old Ford Ka was pretty slim. I just felt a complete peace come over me, turned the wheel and woke up slumped over the steering wheel to some poor man shouting OMG, I think she's dead. Turned out I passed out from shock or something before the impact, so when I hit the tree I was completely floppy, and this contributed to me having no serious injuries. The front of my car was completely disintegrated. After coming to, I tried to put my clutch down to take the car out of gear out of habit and my foot hit the tree trunk. The tree was absolutely fine. I drove past the tree every day for years after and you could see the chunk my car took out of it. I had an idiot friend and we were hiking. We got to this waterfall and he goes, dude, let's climb it. I said no freaking way. He says, well, I'm gonna do it and if I fall and die it's on you for not coming. So I climbed it with him. Got stuck halfway up on a slick butt rock. Pinched a nerve in my shoulder, so my right arm was useless. I thought I was certain to slip off the rock to my doom, but we managed to get me unstuck. That was the beginning of the end for that friendship. I survived a car crash that wrecked my car. Rolled twice. landed upside down, learned the hard way that I didn't have airbags, or at least they didn't deploy. Did have my seatbelt on though, that probably saved me. Paramedic said he hadn't seen a wreckage like that and have it end well, not even a hairline fracture. You'd be a mushed raisin if not for your seatbelt. Well done. I went out for a surf on a stormy day and thought to myself, no one else is out, those idiots, before being held down by 2 waves after eating it on the first wave of the set. First wave of the session, was thrown down and held under, and while being tossed around my leg rope wrapped around both my legs and one of my arms, so I was probably being held at around 5 feet under with only one arm free while my board tombstoned. Board tip is barely visible at the surface but floats vertical like a tombstone. Finally managed to catch a breath between sets before taking another 3 or 4 on the head and for sure just thought, well this is it, no one's out. Fisherman will find my body or my board. Managed to get my other arm free and got to shore very quickly and then avoided the ocean for a few days even though the waves were absolutely perfect. There's a reason no one was out. Everyone else was 10 minutes down the road at another beach where the waves were smaller and cleaner. I was in an extremely similar situation, but it was at a comp. Held a meter or 2 under for what felt like minutes. I genuinely just pretty much accepted I was dead. Tire popped going over a 2-lane road with steep drops on both sides. My car jerked to the side hard, and my car went sideways. Half my car hung over the side and luckily it's low so it bottomed out. I climbed into the back seat and jumped out the back door. Some dude in a truck pulled me out and I drove on a flat to the other side and swapped my tire out. I swear it's always some dude in a truck ready to help. They're either the best people ever or jerks. Parachute deployed but failed to open. That was one of those moments. Then training kicked in. Cut away, failed shoot. Deploy secondary. But for a brief moment life was about to be over in my mind. Went whitewater rafting on the Gorley River and my raft flipped on Pillow Rock, one of the most famous Class V rapids. Scariest moment of my life, but other than unexpectedly swallowing some water and almost vomiting, I came out completely unharmed. Man, Pillow Rock is no joke. Out of all the obstacles, that one always make the butt pucker just a little bit more. I ride with river expeditions and have always had fantastic guides. I took my 13YO with me this last trip and he said he's never been more terrified and excited at the same time. I was driving down a highway, doing 65 miles per hour, and suddenly my car started to shake. I tapped the brakes in reflex and my entire car flipped 180 degrees. I'm now facing oncoming traffic, including a semi-truck. I was so close I couldn't see the driver compartment. I screamed and jerked the wheel, bringing me in front of a sedan with 2 people screaming as they watched me appear out of nowhere. I kept screaming and floored the gas pedal, made it to the side of the road and cried for a long time. I had blown a rear tire. Hitting the brakes was a terrible choice. What are you supposed to do, because I'm sure I would hit the brakes too. When I was a kid I was playing hide and seek with my siblings and I got the brilliant idea to hide in the trunk of the car. I meant to leave the trunk barely open so that it didn't latch, but accidentally closed it too far and it latched. Mind you, this was before they put handles in cars to open trunks from the inside, so I was legitimately stuck. It was almost completely dark, so I started seriously freaking out and I thought I was going to die. So I started yelling for help as loud as I could and was kicking at the back seat thinking maybe I could break the latch that keeps the seat from folding. I was probably only in there for about 5 minutes before someone heard me and let me out, but it felt like an eternity. To this day I firmly believe it was because of this incident that I developed some minor claustrophobia. I still have serious fears about being in small, cramped and dark areas. I have a friend whose brother died in the trunk of the car playing hide and seek. It got too hot and he couldn't get out. So sad. I'm glad you made it. I was driving home from college on one of those highways with only one lane in either direction and no shoulder. A guy in the oncoming lane didn't see me as I was in a small car. He thought he could pass 4 18-wheelers in one go and pulled into my lane going at least 90. There was nowhere for me to go. He flew off into the ditch to avoid hitting me head on. Likely did severe damage to his car, but I lived. I ate one of those Branches oval shaped hard candies. Think they were called sparklets. At home alone when I was 6. Got stuck in my throat. I stood there in shock for a few seconds as I started to realize I couldn't breathe. I ran crazily around the room and ended up colliding hard into the back of the couch, which caused the candy to go flying out. Best accidental Heimlich ever. When I was 18, I was driving through an intersection with the right of way, going 70 km/h or 43.5 mph. A man in a blue Mazda 3 hatchback decided to run the red light turning left. He was so close to me that I could see the whites of his eyes, and in a split second I thought, I'm about to T-bone this guy. Driver side door and he is going to die. Instinctively I yanked on the wheel and swerved to the right and instantly went over the curb and off the road, onto someone's lawn. I slammed the brakes, but because I was on grass the tires locked and the car kept momentum. I went through their wooden fence and garden, and straight into the brick wall on the side of their house. As soon as I went off the road, I 100% thought I was going to die. My life didn't flash before my eyes, but people close to me did. It could have only been a second or two, but time seemed to slow down and my brain was racing. I thought about how my girlfriend would react, what my parents would say, what my friends would think, etc. When the car hit the wall, it punched a few bricks out of place and the entire front end of the vehicle caved in. The windows shattered, the tires exploded, the doors bent into an L shape and the car started to fill with smoke. However, the radio was still playing Vicarious by Tool. I was concussed by the airbag, broke my nose, jaw, 2 fingers, had whiplash and my left knee was dislocated. I was in shock and couldn't believe that what just happened was real, and so I just sat there kinda freaking out. A group of parents from a birthday party across the street saw what happened and ran to the car and pulled me from it as they thought it was about to catch fire. The man in the Mazda 3 drove away. If it wasn't for the testimony of those parents who told the police they witnessed the man run the intersection and that I didn't do anything wrong, I would have been completely liable for all of the property damage, and additionally insurance would not have replaced the vehicle as it would have been deemed at fault. I am glad nobody else got hurt. Fell asleep driving through the night with my brothers. They were supposed to stay awake and help me stay awake, but were out cold. I woke up as the right front tire kissed the gravel on the side of the highway, ripped the wheel to the left, and managed only to spin out. Weird thing was, while it was happening, I was crystal clear, fully focused, and totally in control, as if time had slowed down, but thinking that we were all dead. Power napping works. Pull over, set your alarm for 15-20 minutes and sleep. It's a full reset on your brain. The hood on my car came open at 60 on the highway and completely blocked my sights in heavy traffic. I panicked and jerked the wheel a little bit, which caused me to fishtail a little bit. I crap you not. My driver's education teacher's words from 5 years prior rang in my head to lean down and look through the space at the bottom of the hood. I pulled over and used some wire I found in the trunk to keep the hood closed. Anytime you close your hood, make sure it latches securely by pulling on the hood like you're trying to lift the front of the car off the ground. I was driving on the turnpike in my Mazda 3 in the hard rain. It was 3 lanes and I was in the left lane doing 55, and then I hit standing water and hydroplaned. I did a full 360 spin across all 3 lanes of traffic and ended up in the shoulder stopped. I didn't hit anyone or anything. No one hit me, and one car was so scared with me they also pulled over, but didn't check on me. To this day I'm still a bit scared in the rain. I've done nearly the exact same thing in a 3, except it went from right lane to the left lane, to the shoulder, and I did bounce off the guardrail, so needed to repair that part. But I hit water, did a 360 across 3 lanes of traffic with no one else nearby. When both the stewardess and pilot at different times came on the loudspeaker of the plane saying they are doing their best to land safely, then seeing the fire engines and other emergency vehicles on the runway waiting for us. The plane landed fine, but as it was going for the landing a weird calm came over me because I knew I wasn't going to make it, and that was fine. A really bad flash fire at work where I jumped into a pit to get away from the heat. I saw the flames roll right over top of the pit. I thought for sure I was going to die. I got some wicked 3rd-degree burns, but I lived. I was drunk and running in the woods when bam, barbed wire fence straight to the throat. The last thing I remember, I couldn't breathe and was passing out and there was blood squirting from my neck. Woke up an hour later and walked home looking like a murder victim. My dad once took some barbed wire to the throat too. It happened before I was born and I can't remember all the details. But I do remember my mom recounting how he showed back up at the house with blood running down his body. Mom couldn't handle it and left the room. To be fair, she was only like 18 at the time. Thankfully, her mom was around and leapt in to help. My friend put me in a fold-out couch when we were 12. Unaware of how to get me back out because of the weight and pressure on me, I started to panic and scream, making it worse. He cut me out of the center of it like a burrito C-section. My friend's stepfather was an extremely abusive drill instructor. The beating he took was terrible. But that's my story. Emergency C-section from a fold-up couch. That's tough, cause he knew he was gonna get it but still got you out. Sounds like a good dude. Had a paintball fight on Christmas morning with two cousins and their neighbor kid at around 13 years old with our brand new guns we got as gifts. The neighbor got mad, ran home, came back with a shotgun, and pointed at my face. All I remember is looking at the ground and waiting to die. My friend and I just spent a few days at a beach shack. My friend just got her P plates. She was super excited, so she wanted to drive us home. This was one of her first times driving alone. Being 17, we didn't really see an issue. I rang my dad beforehand and told him I was getting a lift. He said, "I don't think you should do that. I can come pick you up. I can drive some of the girls home too. I think you guys should wait until she's had more experience." Of course, being 17, thinking I knew everything, I said it was fine and I was hopping in her car. We were on our way home, playing music and chatting. There were 5 17-year-olds in this car. I was sitting behind the driver's seat. My friend pulls out onto a 2-1 expressway from a country road, like an intersection. We notice she's turned the wrong way and tell her to make a U-turn. She pulls to the side and decides to go for it, through 2 lanes. She didn't check her mirrors properly and a large truck was coming up behind us. My friend got frightened and put her foot on the brake in the middle of both lanes. We were all screaming at her to keep driving, but she was frozen. I remember, it was like slow motion. I looked at every single one of my friends. We all kind of shared a moment of fear, like this is it I guess. The exchange looks haunt me tbh. We could hear the truck horn blaring at us. I looked out my window to the truck driving toward us. I locked eyes with the truck driver. Luckily the truck stopped about 5 meters away from us. She pulled away and was really upset. The car was silent the entire way back. It was honestly the scariest moment. I am from a really small town and I think losing 5 people at once would really rock it. Seeing my friends' faces in that moment, it was actually horrific. I did have a moment of okay, here comes the truck. It was oddly peaceful. After that day I have a real understanding that I'm mortal and can go at any minute. Oh, and to trust my dad. I had leg cramp and a momentary blackout when swimming in a diving pool when I was 16. I was really active that I overexert my limit. Surprisingly I didn't really panicked. Just the dreadful thought, oh crap, I'm fricked. Funny thing is that I didn't really wingle my hands out of the pool panickingly like I usually see in the TV, just silently sinking. Good thing the pool guard on duty noticed me and went for my rescue by pulling me out. Really wish I thanked the guard more that he saved me instead of me cluelessly sitting outside the lobby after the accident. The thing is, very rarely do people flail their hands in panic when they drown. Usually they just stay still with their mouth and nose submerged underwater. What you want to look for is not the panic, but the responsiveness. One of my most surreal experiences of my life, I had a lot of weird ones around this time, was riding my bike on the sidewalk next to an extremely busy road at night. I hit something on the sidewalk, I don't know what, and tumbled sideways into the street. As I fell, I saw the road light up from headlights from a car behind me, and when I hit the asphalt, I just lay there because I knew I couldn't get out of the way in time. After a second or so I wasn't dead, so I looked around and the street was empty. It wasn't empty when I fell. There were cars going in both directions. That was 20+ years ago and I'm still not entirely convinced that I didn't die. It's possible that I imagined the headlights, but that road is never empty like it was. It's a major street in a major city. It always has cars on it, even at 3 AM. It was the first of many experiences that led me down a path of questioning the nature of reality. You've switched to an alternative timeline where there were no cars on the road at that split second. I'm a skier. On a few occasions I have caught an edge at a pretty high speed, 50 plus mph or more. That moment when you feel both skis leave the ground when they are not supposed to is horrifying. Somehow I've never had anything more than some moderate whiplash and a sprained wrist. Knock on wood. Skier here too. I'm just standing in my kitchen reading both skis leave the ground when not supposed to, and there's instantly this super unsettling feeling. Even if it's not close to dying, you just never know 100% if you land safely or end up limping around with 2 fricked knees for the rest of your life. Probably what makes skiing so exciting. Stay safe, fellow skier. Yesterday morning when I slipped on some wet tin on a roof, my safety cable didn't activate. Luckily my co-worker caught me. That's about as close as I've gotten so far. Once as a kid I was in the backyard swimming while my family was nearby eating dinner at a round table. Most had their backs to me, but I was like 11 and an experienced swimmer. I got into a toddler's float with leg holes. It ended up flipping over and I was stuck in it. My legs wouldn't come out of the leg holes. I kicked and thrashed as much as I could, but I was so stuck. And you can't hear someone screaming underwater. So many thoughts ran through my head. Mostly how sad I was that my parents were about to find me dead in a matter of minutes, and how they'd never forgive themselves for allowing me to silently drown as they talked with friends. I tried one more time to kick with all of my might. One leg slipped out and I was able to get the other out after. I was fine. Totally freaking spooked, but physically okay. Oh, I actually have a story that fits. I was coming home from a party at 2 AM in 2016 and made a conscious choice to drive through town rather than take the big highway that skirts the city limits. It would add like 10 minutes to the trip, but hey, it was the first time I'd been back in ages. That decision literally almost killed me. Not even 5 minutes after that, the 3-lane highway, really just a wide road, passed in front of them all, and there was a signal light there. Well, some drunk idiot decided to turn right into the mall from the far left lane, and I was in the middle lane. I had absolutely no time to stop, so I slammed into the side of his car at 65 miles per hour. I remembered yelling SHITTT and trying to keep control of the wheels to get the car off the road onto the grass before I blacked out for a few minutes. The airbag and the seatbelt combined had fractured my sternum, which took the air out of my lungs and made me faint, I guess. But it didn't feel like I woke up, more so like my vision came back into focus and I was aware. But those few moments I was still kind of conscious and in immense pain. Worst I've ever felt in my life. I hurt from the skin on the soles of my feet to my scalp. Every single inch was in pain and I was like, so I'm dead. This is my body telling me I'm dead. So when I came to, heat hit me cause my car was fricked and the engine was as hot as standing in a fire. So I was convinced my car was about to go up. It didn't. So I tried to get out, but the door was wedged shut from the crash and I started to panic. I put my back against the passenger seat and kicked the door over and over until it opened and climbed out. Every single police officer, EMT, and even the tow truck guy took one look at my car and told me you shouldn't have walked away from that crash at all. The fact that all you have is a fracture and some lacerations is a literal miracle. So yeah, that's how I almost died and thought for sure I was dead, but got lucky. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.